Hi everybody. Today I'm gonna read a blog post that I wrote on narcissism and its causes. It's called The Traits and Symptoms of Narcissistic Personality Disorder. A commonly held truism that is often instilled into us from a young age is that with the right amount of persistence and effort, anyone can change their character. With the right amount of therapy and spiritual guidance, yesterday's classroom bully can become tomorrow's Peace Corps volunteer. We are told that forgiveness and tolerance is a virtue to aspire to, and that with the right amount of understanding, anyone can reform themselves. While this very well may be true on average, this sort of faulty thinking leads to disaster for thousands of people who find themselves in close relationships with individuals suffering from pathological narcissism. For most reasonable adults, change is taxing and a noble undertaking that requires a great amount of introspective insight and discipline. More importantly, in order to change, you must want to change. For the most part, NPD-affected individuals lack the internal incentives to change, as in their view, there are few if any negative consequences attached to living in their illusory world of self-deception and callous undertakings. Devoid of conscience, they do not feel a sense of anxiety over shortchanging someone else, nor do they feel a need to access their true feelings in order to place a value on things that stir a person's soul. They are not attached to anyone, not even to themselves, and instead live to perpetuate an ever-evolving facade, uncompromising in their view that the entire world should cater to them. Their inner circle consists of people who are generally willing to forfeit their needs over the needs of others. Clinicians often use the term codependent to describe the unfortunate individuals that the narcissist chooses to aggrandize the ever-changing false masks that he or she presents. Let us now examine some of the textbook traits of narcissism in order to better understand what differentiates sociopathic individuals from those of us that are considered neurotypical. Though narcissists differ from one another as much as any other person differs from their neighbor, their pathology is distinguishable by the presence of a few key character traits. Grandiose feelings of self-worth, importance, and uniqueness. Most of us crave and yearn to acquire a unique set of skills or talents. It is normal and even necessary to boast about accomplishments. In the popular media, narcissism is often conflated with ego-seeking behavior that indulges the me, myself, and I paradigm of Western society. However, clinical narcissism is far more perverse than a desire to aggrandize one's image or improve one's self-image. Paradoxically, in contrast to the media's vivacious portrayal of narcissism as a cult of self-worship, narcissism is in point of fact a disorder of low self-esteem. Narcissists lack a stable understanding of who they are. The primary goal of their existence is to protect what is referred to in clinical terms as the false self. The narcissist's false self is a magnified version of the image that the narcissist wants to project onto his social circle. He deflects attention away from his true self at all costs because his internal landscape is a cesspool of deeply held inferiority sustained from early childhood trauma. For this reason, the image of uniqueness that the narcissist conveys is spurious. It is born of fraud, deceit, and skillful manipulation, rather than substantive hard work and self-discipline. Lack of interpersonal empathy. All neurotypical individuals have a capacity to empathize with one another, We are neurologically hardwired to experience hurt or remorse when another member of our species is physically or emotionally wounded. The mirror neurons of our brain fire when we observe others acting or feeling in a similar manner as we have felt in the past. From an evolutionary perspective, these mirror neurons are the basis of empathic communication and have allowed humans to evolve and commune in groups throughout history. Without them, society would be far less cohesive, as we would have no intervening sense of care for one another. Without inborn empathy, humans would not be inclined to cooperate on tasks, build communities, or care for one another's children. All sociopaths, including narcissists, lack these vital neuronal connections. Their self-seeking behavior is primarily linked to this fatal flaw in their brain circuitry. When forced to commune with individuals expressing empathy or remorse, they feign these emotional states. However, when they are not incentivized to care, when the social context does not constrain them, narcissists are not capable of truly feeling negative mental states that arise from the suffering of another. This lack of true empathy makes them dangerous to people who are not aware of their pathology. Not only are their warm emotions not genuine, they also tend to have sadistic motives. Emotionally barren and often bored by their lack of connection to others, their chronic understimulation leads to a need to dominate and subdue those with interpersonal empathy. As a result, people often fall prey to their false pathos and artificial displays of emotional vulnerability or victimhood. Narcissists then use this sympathy to extract favors or attention from unsuspecting victims and amuse themselves by keeping the ball rolling on their con. Pathological envy. At the core of narcissistic personality disorder is a sense of deep envy for the success and achievements of other people. This is a paradox of the disorder that confounds those who wish to better understand the narcissist's motives. On the one hand, the narcissist goes to unimaginable lengths to prove that he or she is divine, fearless, and capable of anything. On the other hand, at the root of the narcissist's displays lies a deep sense of inferiority and pathological envy. Their false self needs to be protected from criticism as well as the success of other people. For this reason, your success is reflexively the narcissist's undoing. The narcissist is incapable of feeling happy about the achievements of even his nearest and dearest. In fact, the closer and more dependent you are on the narcissist, the more he or she will seek to undermine your goals, as he or she sees them as being a direct threat to the integrity of the false self. This envy leads to covert sabotage. If the victim trusts the narcissist will play on that trust to try to undermine the victim's goals and aspirations. He does this with an immense amount of gratification. The predatory narcissist often fools people into thinking that his suggestions are born of good intentions when nothing could be further from the truth. Feelings of self-righteousness and lust for power. The narcissist's internal sense of chaos and dissonance about who they are feeds their sense of resentment towards anyone with a unique and empowered self-identity, compassion toward other people, nurturing feelings, or anything that makes life fruitful and worth living for the rest of us. The narcissist is in a perpetual state of hiding. He does not want to confront his internal demons, so he projects his instability onto other people, with the twofold goal of feeling relieved of his flaws and also gaining narcissistic supply by distracting people and demoralizing his intended targets. In reality, the narcissist is incapable of giving criticism or advice in order to help someone grow or evolve. The narcissist's motive is purely to preserve and gratify his false ego, while throwing people who invest their trust in him off balance. His only remedy for dealing with people that threaten his power agenda is to eliminate them by throwing a smear campaign or literally killing them off. as in the case of most narcissistic dictators. The narcissist's lack of empathy makes this a simple task, especially if the individuals he is interacting with have taken him into their confidence, as is the case with most political factions. Power is the only thing that truly entices and stimulates him. His barren emotional landscape leaves plenty of room for his rendition of psychological chess. Everyone that interacts with the narcissist is a pawn in the game. In the narcissist's mind, there is only room for one true referee and player in this hidden match against the rest of the world, and that player is him. What other people say about the efficacy of his actions does not matter. Machiavellianism and manipulative tendencies. The term Machiavellianism derives from the realpolitik philosophy of Niccolo Machiavelli, an Italian statesman who maintained that the state could legitimize immoral behavior in order to exercise absolute sovereignty over its subjects. In that sense, the state is an end unto itself. Similarly, the narcissist sees the preservation of his false self as his highest goal. Therefore, anyone that comes into direct contact with him is subject to this twisted paradigm of justice, in which all is sacrificed in the name of this fabricated image. Incapable of introspective insight, the narcissist by default faults the outside world for not admiring his revolving image. The external world does not carry any real value to him, as his false self is a kingdom unto itself, and any external influence is perceived by the narcissist to be an act of war. Knowing on some level that he cannot win everyone over to his way of thinking, he instead chooses to manipulate his inner circle of confidants in order to feed his false sense of sovereignty and entitlement over other people's lives, and in doing so gain narcissistic supply in the form of praise, attention, admiration, and financial gain. Although Narcissus may seem intimidating, if you study his disorder long enough, you will gain the clarity and insight needed to discern these people and head for the nearest exit when they attempt to subdue you with their superficial charms.